Wouldn't you love to learn how to market with integrity? It is possible. For over 15 years, I've been connected, playing, collaborating, getting into mischief with the one and only Lisa Manyon. Lisa is the founder of Right On Creative. She is known as the business marketing architect. She's the president and founder, as I shared, of Right On Creative, host of the podcast Your Message Matters, and a best-selling author. She teaches, trains, and transforms on two core topics: marketing with integrity, which is what we're talking about today, which is all about strategy and messaging. And as you'll discover, her strategies are known to create million-dollar results. And number two, healing with love, based on her best-selling book, Spiritual Sugar. The divine ingredients to heal yourself with love, with a foreword, can you believe this, by Dr. Joe Vitale, and an afterword by the one and only Neil Donald Walsh. Lisa, thank you for joining me for the Amplify Summit. When I reached out, I'm like, there's only one person I want for this. So welcome, my friend.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to play again. I mean, like you said, we've been doing this for a really long time. And, I've been teaching and talking about marketing with integrity for a really long time. And, our collaborations and our friendship and our business relationship is what actually led to what I'm going to share today in becoming even more prevalent, even more known, which is such a cool thing.
Oh my goodness, it is. And it's so important too, because I know so many people, entrepreneurs who are listening to us now, they struggle with this, right? They think they have to follow a model that doesn't align with the truth of who they are. And so what I found happens is, because they don't have a model that feels integritous to them, that they always feel like marketing and sales is icky, that it doesn't align with them, that they have to be someone else. And we're here to talk about that today, because it's just the opposite. There is a formula that you created. And why don't we start there, because that really started our journey together.
It really did. And one of the things
Yeah.
one of the things I want to touch on about what you said is, when people are struggling with their marketing message and their strategy and all of that, it's often because they are being taught models, like you mentioned, that do not work for them. So most of the people that I play with, and I know many of the people that you play with as well, are not only mission driven, but multi-passionate. So we have more than one interest, and we're told that we can only focus on one thing, which tries to basically squish us into a box we were never meant to be in. And that's where that part of where that energetic disconnect comes from. And we'll talk more about that too. But really, the bottom line is marketing is all, and in sales for that matter, is all about building relationships. And that's what Linda Joy and I have been doing over the years. So we've kept an eye on each other for a very long time. And I remember when Linda, when you reached out to me and you said, Lisa, I love what you're doing with marketing. We need to get you featured in Aspire magazine and really talk about what it is that you're doing. And I'm just going to be full transparency. This was like 12 years ago, I believe. And at that point, I was doing my work very intuitively. I definitely tap into guidance when I do things, but I hadn't actually named my framework that I was using to help create all these transformations for people. And so Linda, in true Linda form, was like, hey, this is great, but you're going to need to name this for me. And we're going to need to, move forward, which is hilarious because that's what I do for others. But, we're always too close to our own stuff to see it. So I wrote an article for Aspire magazine, and this is kind of where everything took on a life of its own. What I realized I was doing is I had created a framework, which is an alternative to the tired and antiquated problem, agitate, and solve approach, where people poke at pain points. Instead, we focus on passion points. We amplify passion points, right? So when I wrote the article and Aspire magazine came out, and I was blessed to grace the cover, and it was such an honor because some of my greatest heroines have been on the cover, like Louise Hay and Marianne Williamson, and so many people that I just adore in the spiritual teaching realm. So that was a big honor for me. But beyond all of that, something that I want each of you that are listening to really latch onto is it was a name it and claim it moment. And what that means is when you name something and you claim it as your own, although I know that I'm just a conduit for this work, but you really give it a home, it takes on a life of its own. So Aspire magazine hit. I got a ton of great feedback and response from that. And the most impressive was I was interviewed by Inc. magazine as a result of that. So, Linda is all about visibility. And I'm here to tell you that, and that's something that I'm very passionate about too. It works, and it works energetically when everything is aligned. So that's kind of how that all happened. And from there, invited to top podcasts, People's Choice Award at the California Women's Conference. And I don't share any of these things to brag. They're just tangible examples of when you own your magic, you're visible about it, and you get it out there, then you start magnetizing and amplifying your opportunities.
Yes, 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 yes. Because I'm so passionate about helping mission-driven women entrepreneurs to be more visible, because that's the only way we're going to change lives, or in your case, on this topic today, change our businesses, right?
Absolutely.
So let's start with talking about how do we craft a message and strategy with two of my favorite words, grace and ease. Right? Because it gets so stuck in our head, but your formula, your framework is so powerful. So guide us through.
Absolutely. So first of all, I just want to say two things are never going to go out of style. Your message and your strategy, they will evolve. And this is something I also want people to take note of. You do not have to blow everything up and reinvent and rebrand all the time. You can make small tweaks that have big impact, and you can evolve. So what happens is people get really entrapped in the idea that busy work and making changes is going to fix their business, when it's more of an internal thing. And when you get that internal alignment dialed in, then you can amplify your message and your strategy. So those are the two things that I really focus on now. And the reason I'm so passionate about the framework that I teach is because it starts with your values, and your values equal value. Now, this isn't necessarily part of the framework I'm going to teach, but it's a foundation behind the scenes that you have to have in place. If you're not operating from your values, then basically, again, a big energetic disconnect, because my friends, business is personal. I don't care what anyone says to you. If someone just says, oh, I did this kind of crappy thing and it's not personal, it's just business, I'm like, actually it is. It shows me who you are. And so we want to be in integrity with everything we're doing. So that leads me into the framework, because this is how we're going to actually make the right connections and be able to tell our story in a way that amplifies and magnifies and magnetizes all of these fun things, right, that we want to do. So the big thing that you need to do is, know what the challenge is. First of all, you need to know who your ideal clients are. So make sure you get that dialed in. And sometimes people don't know, and it takes a while to figure that out, because as we grow and evolve as people, as business owners, so do our clients. So we may need to shift that. But instead of really focusing on the problem and poking at those pain points, what we do is we just acknowledge where people are from a place of empathy and understanding. So what I say is that the challenge, you need to know it. What is the challenge of your ideal people? And a great example of that is, I serve mission-driven, multi-passionate entrepreneurs and business owners, primarily female, but not all of the time. And their challenge is they want to get their message out in the world in a really big way. And they also are completely turned off by pain point marketing. So as soon as they hear, oh my gosh, we can focus on passion points and we can use the challenge, solution, and invitation communication framework to do things differently, it lifts energetic blocks that have kept people stuck from sharing their magic, because they were trying to use frameworks that were never, ever, ever going to work for them. So it's just that simple. The challenge, know it. Know exactly what your people want. Stop creating offers just because someone told you to go after the low-hanging fruit, or because it seems easy, or because you're jumping on the latest trend and bandwagon. And, as soon as AI came out, 2 days later, there are people who are experts. You know what? Well, I'll tell you what I call on that. I'm not going to say it, but y'all know. So you just need to be really clear about who you're serving and what not only what their challenges are, but this is also where we roll into the solution part, because we want to amplify those passion points of what life will look like once people have experienced your product or service. So the first step is the challenge. You've got to know it. The second step is the solution, and you've got to be it. So this means truly embodying in your cells, in your soul, in your heart, your magic. Own it. You are the expert. And so your solution will come in the form of, yes, what you offer, but not just telling people your process, telling people how it transforms and how it makes a difference. So for example, the solution that I currently have for people who are challenged by the antiquated marketing frameworks like the problem, agitate, and solve approach, and who really want to get their message out in the world in a big way, is to accept my free gift, which we'll talk about later, but it's called the Messenger Quiz. And in that quiz, you'll learn how to apply this framework for yourself. And you'll also get some additional information to help you build your business. Really, basically, you'll discover your messaging style. So you'll find out if you're a launcher, leader, or legacy creator, which is exciting. And I work with people at all different areas of business. And I don't think that there's anything, I don't believe there's anything in existence that creates a hierarchical relationship. I believe that no matter where you are in your business, we're all peers. It's peer mentorship is how I look at it. So your solution, you've got to be it. So you have to have something to offer. So what does that do? Well, this helps people solidify their value proposition, really own their magic, and articulate their message in a way that amplifies what they have to offer the world. So it magnetizes people to them. I've had people just take the quiz, and by them identifying where they are in their business journey, because they might not have even slowed down to do that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually a leader. Well, yes, we all are. And each of these traits that people learn about, we all have different elements of them. There are crossovers. So again, no better or worse, no matter where you are, there's just specific steps that I know you can take that will get you to where you want to be. So I do that just out of the kindness of my heart. That's a free gift that I offer everyone. It gets people fantastic results in that foundation to have their message dialed in very clearly so that people don't question what it is that you have to offer. So in that example of sharing not only my solution, I talked about some passion points about really owning your message. So many people are confused about that. So right there, that's a transformational result. It's not a dollars result yet. We can get into those later, but you want to make sure that in your solution, you are including some tangible results so people understand immediately what they're going to get from you and how you can help in the transformation of the results that they'll receive from playing with you. And from there, you're just set up to easily extend an invitation. And for the invitation piece, it's so simple. You just have to do it. And so many people miss this. This is often called the call to action. I like to call it an invitation because it's friendlier and it builds relationships. And that's what we're all about here. So all you have to do then, once you've, challenge, it, solution, you have to be it. And then the invitation, you have to do it. So of course, when we're done talking about marketing and all this fun stuff, I'm going to invite each of you to take the Messenger quiz and grab your free gifts and amplify your message, because that's what we're here to do. Amplify your message and your visibility. And so you see how that can easily roll off your tongue with grace and ease, because you know that you're offering something of great value, and you know that it's going to impact people and it's going to make a change, whatever it might be. So I invite each of you to also think about it. How are you when it comes to the challenge? Do you know it for your ideal clients? For the solution, are you really being it and owning it? Or are you still just making stuff up and throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to figure it out? And so people feel that energetically and don't quite trust you yet. That's why you've got to get this message so dialed in. And then that invitation comes so naturally. It's none of the hard sell, buy now, you're going to miss out, any of the false scarcity or anything. It's just a natural process of building relationships with those you are meant to serve. And I just cannot tell you how delighted it makes me that this framework has been not only helping people to remove those energetic blocks, because that's really important to me, but helping them dial in their core message and value proposition, and then also helping them position their message in such a way that it's attracting really nice deals. It's making it easier to do business.
Because there's a path for them to follow. And I love challenge, solution, invitation, your 3-part framework. And you can hear it in your choice of words that you use to describe each pillar, you can feel what the next steps are, right? You can, as a marketer, as a business owner. My question is, I know there may be a lot of business owners, and it ties back to what you said earlier. Sometimes they don't know yet. Maybe they're a new coach. Maybe they've been in business a year. They haven't really honed in on their ideal client because they haven't been able to serve to discover that. So speak to them of a great place to start, not just with the ideal client, but how do they know what their transformation is, their solution is, when they are still kind of uncovering it for themselves? Any guidance or special tips for those who are newer in business?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, you do need to know what you're going to offer, but it's going to change and evolve along with your message too. And I'm going to give you a good example. So when I first started Right on Creative, my plan was to write for magazines. I was taking a break from advertising. I come from an advertising agency background, and I'm like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm tired. I loved it, but I wanted to just focus on that. Well, people came to me because they really needed help with their messaging and strategy. So by default, I went right back into that, which was great because it was needed, and it was what needed to happen. It was interesting because long ago I used to lead with the power planning process, which is part of the 4 core things that I really focus on with people in business. I focus on planning and strategy, messaging and content, publicity and PR, and messaging and copy, clearly. And so this I tested, and you have to test. This is what I'm getting at. So I started with the power planning process, which is a super powerful process, but realized that really people needed something a little different. And then I'm like, oh gosh, people really need some publicity. So I started leading with publicity. And then I realized, oh, guess what? They really need, it all came back to, quite frankly, it all came back to people needing their core message dialed in, which is why for a while I was doing the copywriting action plan, which is fantastic. Something I still have behind the scenes that helps people, but it was going too deep, too fast for many people who needed to really dial in that foundational framework of their messaging and what they're offering. So test and track. And if you don't have paid clients yet, do some beta testing. Get some people who are willing to work with you in exchange for going through your process, and really take a peek at that so that you can get it dialed in before you launch. And often people will be really surprised when I say, sometimes you don't even need to build your website first. In fact, you might want to wait because your messaging is going to change so much that once you get these case studies and these beta testers all dialed in, then it's time to really start building. And so many people, again, it's like what I said, you get caught up in the bright, shiny object syndrome. What we want to do is be very strategic. So we want to make sure that you're testing your offer with, whomever you can. Hopefully they're paid people, but to begin with, you might do some barter. It's totally up to you. But one of the things that I will say about barter is make it clean, create a contract. Be very clear and intentional about that, because things can get muddy, and that's just a strategy piece on the side. But absolutely, if you're starting out, you're in the perfect place, and you have the opportunity to test and track and evolve and pivot as you need to. And I always recommend that. And don't follow other people blindly. Just because someone else is doing something or created a business model that looks like it'll work, it might not work for you, especially if you don't feel it in your heart. If you're not energetically aligned with it, and you'll hear me say energetically aligned probably 5 million times because it's so important. If you're not energetically aligned, you're not going to attract the right clients, and you're going to get disappointed. And it's going to be a much tougher experience to get everything solidified.
Those are all great tips. And I love the idea of beta programs, especially for new business owners. Another thing that really helps me, and I use a lot, is sending out a survey to actually hear what my audience or my email list is struggling with around a very specific topic. So it has given me so many insights in language. So I share with my clients, be very clear, so that the survey isn't willy-nilly. You want it to give you a certain parameters. But I got to tell you, though, I just did one maybe last year about mindset, and the details that they shared, the language that they used is so powerful, because I got to hear from them. So that's another strategy I wanted to share, because it helps us identify the solution to what their challenge is, but it also, in a survey or in a beta program, as you know, helps you see what that the number one problem is that audience of yours has. So that's great strategies.
I love that you said that, because in the messaging exercise that I provide through the messenger quiz, I tell people to really look at and list the transformation or the results that they've received from their clients, and to talk to the clients and find out, what that is, so that we can then craft it into the message. And it's very fascinating. I actually ask for some feedback from people who go through the quiz, and I'd love to hear from you all. So if you take it, just email me, I'll respond. But I asked some of the Right on Creative community to give me some feedback on it. And one lady came back and she was stuck, and she said, I'm really not sure about, how to talk about the results and the transformation and what the clients want. Am I just supposed to make that up like everyone else tells you to do? I know that my eyebrows went up, and I was like, I'm like, first of all, no, we don't make anything up ever. We're here working from heart and from integrity, and we have real results. And so if you don't have those, you need to get them. And also, if anybody is teaching you to just make it up, please run far and fast. I was blown away. And I mean, being so passionate and teaching marketing with integrity for so long, and to hear that there are people who are still passing out really bad business advice, it's a concern. It's a big concern. So I'm glad that everyone is here today, so that we can help share information that will make this journey easier for you, because your solutions have to be real and tangible. We don't make them up. It's based on proven track records. It's based on actual results. And sometimes it's just a transformational result. And I think that's a good thing to talk about too. When the Aspire magazine article came out, a lady that I know read it. We were in an international organization together. She read the article and she was blown away. She had hired a consultant and a coach for sales for her live events, and I think tens of thousands of dollars. I don't remember exactly how much she had spent. She read the article, she applied the challenge, solution, invitation framework to her live presentation. And in the first two that she did, she got more feedback, more people hanging around wanting to sign up for things than she had that entire year with the coach. And this is just from her reading the article and it transforming the way she thought about marketing. And so many people say to me, well, Lisa, that's wonderful, but that didn't make you any money, so it's not very impressive. And to that I say, it's extremely impressive. If the work that I'm doing makes a difference, that makes me happy. By default, because it's working, it will eventually work for me. And she did come around and she hired me for something else later down the road. But this is why we give generously of our knowledge. This is why we show up in these supportive, collaborative ways, so that we are able to help one another easily identify those challenges and be those solutions and extend those invitations and really grow business in a way that makes sense and really brings things home, which I think is also a great place to talk about. I promised to talk a little bit too about the importance of sealing the deal, right? So many people get excited about the prospect of a business partnership or a transaction happening, and we can forget to make sure that all of that important paperwork is in place. Those contracts are signed, or someone checks out on your shopping cart, because a deal is not a deal until you actually receive the money for that transaction. And oftentimes this gets to be kind of a sticky, stretchy place for mission-driven, multi-passionate entrepreneurs. Not only is it sometimes a challenge to invite people to take that next step, it can be a challenge to really close the deal. And closing the deal is just, it's a beautiful handshake to move forward, to do business together, to make a difference. But there are specific things you need to have in place, whether it's your online shopping cart that secures that transaction, or it's a actual contract, whatever that might be. It's really important to have all of your systems and strategies in place. Like I said earlier, two things will never go out of style: your message and your strategy. But you have to have the systems to support your message and to support your business model once you get everything else dialed in.
It's so true. And I want to go back for a moment because I was thinking about what you were saying about solution.
Mm-hmm.
So the challenge is and I'm just going to give a recap for those who may be newer in business too. The challenge is what you know your client is struggling with. If you're a body love coach, maybe she's struggling with her hormones and weight loss. Someone, for me, is a mission-driven entrepreneur who's struggling with being seen. They just can't get their message out. That's the challenge. The solution is, what is your service or product that you are going to invite them to? Are you clear on the transformation it will bring them? So talk a little bit more about the solution, because I'm thinking of some clients and peers who they struggle with how to speak about it without feeling like they're bragging and so they go, oh my God, or the flip, again, they haven't got the feedback yet to know about the results. So how does a newbie make an offer, offer a solution when she may not have all the pieces in place, but we want her to take action and grow her business?
You know, you can use the framework to request beta testers like we talked about, right? If you don't have people, then you can say, listen, I've created this new program and it's going to do X, Y, and Z. I don't know what that is because we don't know what we're talking about at the moment, but whatever those solutions are, you include those. So if you have the intention of starting a business, we'll just say it's a hypnotherapy business. Someone decides they're going to start a hypnotherapy business and they're really not sure how to talk about the tangible results that one gets from hypnotherapy. So what you can do is think about what are the results you've personally received from hypnotherapy? Because if you've gone into the hypnotherapy business, probably you've experienced it and some magic happened, right? So did it remove blocks that kept you stuck? Did it illuminate new pathways for opportunity once you release those old patterns? Did it completely reset your mindset so that you can move forward in life in a completely different trajectory and have better relationships in all areas of your life? So you see, those are transformational things that you can touch on. You can't necessarily guarantee that for everyone, but you can give examples, and you can even use yourself as an example. If you don't have any clients yet and you have become a hypnotherapist, but you know you've experienced yourself, use yourself as that example. Say, listen, this is what this has done for me, and I'd really like to do this for you. So there's many ways that you can do that. And I want to talk about the bragging piece a little bit, because we all go through that, especially when we step into that stretchy spot of being really visible, right? And the truth is, if we don't share our magic with the world and we don't let people know how we can help, they're never going to know how to do business with us or what the possibilities are. So we want to make sure that we have our value proposition dialed in and our passion points dialed in for every single revenue stream that we have. And since we're talking to a lot of multi-passionate people, we can be talking about people who are just starting out and maybe have one offer, but we've got people who have multiple offers. So for each of those multiple offers, you have to actually have your value proposition and your solution dialed in. So I shared with you a little bit about the messenger quiz. That is a lovely lead magnet to nurture people and to help you get your core message dialed in. I have other offerings that I share. So sometimes my people have a challenge with really dialing in their website and their content and getting that all working so that it's going to actually work for them. And what they desire is a smooth transition. And oftentimes they're kind of overwhelmed by tech. And full transparency, I don't do the tech part, but I can help coordinate with the tech people. And so what's happened is I offer something called the Manyon Marketing Web Makeover. If you've got a website that needs a little bit of help and it's not doing what you want it to do, we can look at that. And what's happened is one client, and I love this story, they came to me many years ago and we're still great friends, and they've evolved some things since, but the relationship coaches. And they came to me and we first started looking at their website to see how we might be able to flip some things. And I immediately thought, well, listen, I'm a single female. And if I were going to hire you, I would want to be standing in front of you. You know, I'd want my heart in your hands. I'd want a real relationship. And they had a lot, and they still do have a lot of really great online courses. So they were leading with those. And I said, I would highly recommend we flip that and you lead with an in-person VIP and do that. And they were kicking and screaming, and they'll tell you that themselves. And they decided to do that. And we worked on all their content. They rolled over into a 5-page web copy and strategy plan. And we worked on all their content, got it all dialed in. And the very first conversation they had with a client, signed up for their VIP day. They now have a wait list. It's still in play. And this was multiple years ago. And they more than tripled their investment with me. So I'm sharing that as an illustration to you can share your results with excitement, and it can be all about your client and highlighting them as opposed to, oh, look at me, I'm so great, I helped them triple their revenue. That's not what I'm worried about. Yes, that's great and that's fantastic. But what I'm super excited about is the framework and the process that I offered got them those results. And if I didn't tell you that, and I just said, oh yeah, I offer Manyon Marketing Web Makeover, she'd be like, yeah, so what? What does that do? I don't need somebody to make over my website. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But when you hear the stories and you have those testimonials on your website or elsewhere, then you're able to quickly and succinctly do that. So you want to be able to do that for every product and every service that you have. And you need to have a story dialed in so you can pull from those stories and you can magnetize. And once we figure out what our results are, it's easier to weave in those stories, and people will be attracted to you just by you being you and you delivering what you promise.
I believe stories should be woven into all our copy. Stories are just powerful connection tools. So that's such a great example of how a story can show your expertise without you shouting about yourself. Right?
Exactly.
That was a beautiful example. I know who they are too. So and they're still rocking it.
They're writing a book right now, and I can't wait to read it. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, the stories are really big. And many years ago, one of my mentors when I worked in the radio business always would say to me, facts tell, but stories sell. And I was selling air at the time. So, that's not an easy thing to do, but I did it. And
no, it works. And well, I have a model called authentic storytelling, but even though it's part of my book publishing company, storytelling through everything that I do and what I teach with my clients, because it's a deep personal connection tool. We can inspire through story, whether it's on video or on text or in our messaging. So I love all of everything you shared for the challenge solution invitation. I want to invite everyone right below this video, take action right now and head over there for the free gift that's waiting for you, which is the messenger quiz. And what I love about it is you're going to find out if you're a launcher, a leader, or a legacy creator. And just give a quick recap before we close of what they can expect from that quiz, Lisa. I know you touched on it, but let's.
Oh, absolutely. So you'll discover your messenger style, and as Linda mentioned, you're either a launcher, leader, or legacy creator, or some amalgamation of all. It's hard to tell. And this will help you amplify your soul's calling by dialing in your value proposition and your messaging using the challenge, solution, and invitation framework. And in a nutshell, I am dedicated to helping you take the pain out of planning and the pain points out of marketing, and it will help you to do this.
So take action right now. Take the quiz. It is going to be so helpful, and it's going to give you so many important tips and strategies to help you identify, so you know who you are and how you want to show up in your marketing using the challenge, solution, invitation framework that Lisa and has been using for decades and has created such transformation. I was thrilled to showcase her way back then, and that we're still connected. I turned to Lisa for a lot. We have partnered, collaborated. We have such a powerful business relationship because we believe in each other's missions. Our energetic styles and how we do business is in such alignment. And when your messaging is clear, these are the kinds of relationships you call in, right? When you can own what you do, as Lisa said, this is what happens. Powerful collaborations that last over 15 years. So thank you, Lisa. As always, you're always out there supporting and inspiring entrepreneurs to make a shift into this powerful new way of marketing. So thank you for being part of the Amplify Summit.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you on the next episode, my friends.